Evening, everybody. We're just going to give it a couple more minutes, still let the last couple people filter in, and then we'll get started.
Will you bring me that?
Right. We are.
Hello, Gregory. I'm sorry I had trouble getting on.
It's the world we live in these days, Frank. Don't worry about it.
You think the same one would work right every time?
Never is that simple. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. So this is the September 15th. Well, actually, April, are you good to go? Okay. This is the September 15th meeting of the DMS Board of Directors, officially as the Valley of the Sun North Education Association. I will say the opening verse, and then we'll get started. The true aim of education is to awaken real powers of perception and judgment in relation to life and living. For only such an awakening can lead to true freedom. That's from Rudolf Steiner. April, would you mind reading the closing verse today? Thank you. All right, so let's introduce ourselves. I am Gregory Schneider. I'm the board president and father of 2 kids at the school. And I will introduce Danielle as well because I know that she's driving right now. So Danielle Martinez is also with us. She's a board member and is listening in. And let's move to Dan.
I'm Dan Franks. I'm the board treasurer. My status is currently future parent of children in the school again.
And April?
April Sauer, board secretary, and I have a 5th grader at the school.
Kirsten?
Kristen Cabina. I have a 3rd grader and a 5th grader at the school.
Mr. Tanner?
John Tanner, board member.
Nellie?
Nellie Grossenbacher, board member, 2 sets of twins, 8th grade and 6th grade.
Frank? May still be having some technical issues there. We'll switch to Michelle. You're still on mute.
Sorry. I am Michelle Kratzer. I have 3 kids at the school, and I am the parent council chair. Thank you for having me.
Happy to have you here. Frank Barizio, of course, is our executive director, and I'm sure he'll be rejoining us momentarily. But in the meantime, we'll go ahead and get started. There he is. All right, so we've got, before I run through the agenda, if you would like to log your attendance, please do so by clicking the link in the agenda. That is important if you want to apply to be on the board, which we'll touch on later in the evening. That lets us know that you attended and attending 2 meetings in the last 6 months is a requirement for being a board member. So with that said, we're going to go through some monthly budget and finance issues. We're going to talk a little bit about COVID-19 and the current status of mask mandates in Arizona and litigation about it. And we'll hear from Mr. Marizio. We'll talk about the board applications and we'll approve our minutes. And then we'll talk briefly about the town hall on September 20th, less than a week away now. All right, so let's turn to budget and finance matters. And Frank, if you can, if you're with us, if you could give us the latest on enrollment.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes.
Well,
Seem to have lost you again.
it was another
Yeah, you're still cutting out quite a bit, Frank. Not sure if the Wi-Fi signal is too low where you're sitting or what, but we heard about 2 words you said and then you cut out. You might try turning your video off.
turn the video off, okay?
Now we can hear you.
5 students yesterday, but in the Lord is good because today 5 students showed
Yeah, you're still just cutting out for us.
to enroll.
Yeah, Frank, we're not able to hear you. I don't know if you want to try calling in from your phone. Even a landline would work if you just punch in the numbers. Yeah, Frank, we can't hear you at all. I'm not sure if you can make us out.
And believe it or not, we still have 6 more by Monday to go back over.
Oh. Well, we lost him. Let me send him a text message real quick. And,
I'm on it, Gregory. I'm already sending.
okay, thank you. All right, so we'll come back to enrollment. Let's move to the sustaining fund, fundraising. I know that Nellie, I think it was you who wanted to talk about that, and Danielle, I think you had some updates as well.
I don't want to cut Danielle off if she's driving, so she can go first if she can manage that. If not, I can just jump in.
Why don't you go ahead, Nellie?
So one of the ideas that I've been tossing around with Frank as a sustaining fund would be building a marketing piece that we can put out to the community to reach engagement and encourage people to sign on as monthly donations so that we can come up with some kind of theme, whatever it may be, like ending school year 2022 in a positive light, and having 22 be a number, and say donate $22 a child per month, and have an 18-month projection with long-term goals that we would like to target. And if we capture 18 months, then we'd probably capture 2 years worth of monthly donations. And then have certain line items that we can say that these would be allocated to. I know that Animal Care has some projects they want to work on. I know that Frank has projects that he'd want to get out on the beautification committees. And so if we list a couple line items that would engage the community, that would help them to sustain a monthly donation. Am I not coming in clear?
I can hear you.
Okay, just because I'm hearing feedback on my end. So I just want to make sure that you guys can hear that.
You're clear on our end.
Okay, good. So that's something I'm working on right now, is going to be a marketing piece that we can push out then for during Michaelmas, and then parent council is going to do probably a social so that we can reach the people that are on campus, use the QR code, which is very helpful, and hopefully capture people to sign on to a monthly donation that would be a lower amount, and then be able to build from there where they can then see long-term projects. A part of that also would be to get Animal Care back as a line item budget. One of the components of this donation segment would be maybe sponsoring an animal that would be for a larger amount of a one-time donation, like sponsor Spammy or one of the horses, Champer Chicken, whatever that donation amount might be, which could be $400 for the year, $500 a year. And then that money specifically could go back into Animal Care, because right now, I don't think Animal Care has a line item in the budget. So we need to also work, because that's a huge part of our Waldorf curriculum. We need to make sure that we get that back in there and that they're taken care of.
Danielle, do you want to, if you're able to reach your mic, do you want to add on to that? All right. Looks like we're fighting some technical battles tonight. So let's open it up then to other responses to what Nellie just said.
I would tell you, can everyone hear me now? I'm back.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, great. I would tell you, Nellie and Michelle and Laura have been talking with me. And as you know, a big goal of mine is to increase the high school enrollment, as that's where we have the most room. So walk the campus to say, I would really like to spruce things here, add a patio where we put the double gate fence, add some picnic tables under the big trees, really make it an area that looks very nice, that kids would want to sit under and hang out under. I just feel like the high school area needs some attention. And so we're trying to move forward on that in the next 3 weeks. I actually do have some money for it, but we're trying to raise money for it as well, so I don't have to use some other ESSER grants. But I do feel like we need to make some improvements to the high school. This 8th grade class has 27 in it. If we can get 23 of those students to stay for high school, we would be well on our way to getting over 60 kids for next year, which I really would like to do. I'd like to get to 50 this year before the year's over, and we're at 44 right now. But yes, the ladies talked to me, and we're on the same page. I want to do some things at the high school because, as you know, increasing enrollment needs to happen at the high school at this point.
All right, so I think we switched gears a little bit back to enrollment there, but sounds. Okay, I think we've hit all of the roadblocks we can possibly hit tonight. So, all right, so enrollment, it sounds like the plan is to try and increase high school. I think we're all supportive of that if we can make it happen. And then you're also saying, Frank, to try and do some fundraising for improvement projects around the high school, which I think would, are you saying that would go hand in hand with these monthly donations that Nellie was talking about?
Yes, I believe, and all of us believe, if we make some capital improvements at the high school, it would assist us in keeping kids and possibly attracting more students to the high school. So yeah, I would like to do some things at the high school next so that we can grow.
Got it. Well, Nellie, I love the idea of having the sign-ups for monthly donations because, especially for smaller amounts that seem more approachable, it's less of a hit to people's monthly budgets, and then you build up that pattern of donating, monthly, and then it's a routine thing and not an unusual ask. So I think that's a great idea, and you can build that out. And is the idea then to work with Melissa Sutton to build out some of the marketing pieces that would go with that, or is this totally separate?
I think that might be more of a Danielle question.
Okay.
I can definitely build a marketing piece that can go with it and solicit the parents and the community. I'm pretty good at that, and it worked over the past week. I was able to work with Animal Care and raise enough money for them to be able to get a corral for the animals. And I think that once the community, in an effort of healing and building back, once the community sees that we had a fundraiser, we captured the money, Michelle is dealing with the corral people, and then the corral is going to be on campus, they'll see that we're starting to change and things are starting to move, and the community will be more receptive to knowing that we're going to work on these improvements. So donating is going to go with that. I think that Melissa Sutton, she can work with me on marketing pieces. That's totally fine. But I think that Danielle also wanted to make sure we use her for gala and large scale, I guess, hopefully larger scale donations. And then with what Frank was saying in targeting the high school, we're also going to put out pieces that we can then solicit companies like Home Depot and Lowe's for material, because we have Hector who could lay pavers. So that would be smart to just use in-house, a salaried employee already. And Laura and Michelle were talking about larger companies like Chase, where they have their employees do specific work days going to an organization. So if we can have something set up with a plan, we might be able to capture time and material from people and corporations.
Mm-hmm.
Greg, did you by chance see the marketing piece that went out for the corral last week?
I don't think so.
Okay, I'll email it to you so you can just have a look at it and you can see how we marketed to the community in that direction.
Thanks. I'm sure it's in my inbox somewhere, but I was half a world away.
That's totally fine. I'll send it so it's at the top later on after the meeting.
All right. Other thoughts on the fundraising effort?
Just a couple of things that I wanted to mention. We've tried to do, excuse me, continued small donations previously. I already have paperwork for that, Nellie. So if you want something that's just a template that has information, I'm happy to send that to you and you can do with it what you will, throw it
That would
away
be-
or use it or whatever.
No, I'll take anything to start, to have a base to start off
Yeah,
with. Thank you.
it sounds very similar to some things we've tried previously. And the other thing about that is I want to make sure that we're working really closely with our staff and with Laura regarding those payments, because I know I signed up for the last program that was, I think it was supposed to be $20 a month, and my $20 went through for a handful of months, and then I didn't get any more receipts, and I don't think they were taking my funds, even though I signed up for that. So we need to make sure that all of those pieces are in place because we're busy. It wasn't on my list of things to do to check in again and say, hey, my money's not going through. I'm trying to donate, and I just donated in different ways. So we want to make sure that all of that is taken care of. And the other thing that I wanted to mention, you talked about using QR codes, which I loved. I just wanted to mention that last month, I worked with Deb Palo and Lori Heaney to create the QR codes that went out for the class materials donations. So I just wanted to publicly thank them because we did get quite a big bump in August after those went out. They went to teachers and teachers passed them out at their meetings and the teachers made a quick little spiel about it. And those QR codes, I'm telling you, they're magic because, we're all busy. We all have a million things to do and no one wants to sit down at their laptop and type in desertmarigold.org. You just use your phone, click on your QR scanner, and it's right there. It's so easy to use, and it really did make an impact. I'm going to go on a spiel here because I wrote it down because I was so impressed. So last year at this time when we got our financial reports, the consumable materials fees, which we're now calling the class materials donations, was at $9,800 total for both July and August. This year for July, we got $4,600 and in August, we got $9,600. So right now we're at a total of $14,275 roughly. So that's a big jump already. And I got more numbers today from Monique just to see what we did for September. And I think we're around 4,000. I don't quite remember that number, but those QR codes, they work because we're all so busy and we just need an easy way to access that. So I just want to throw that out there and say, yes, please use that because it works. And I think we should continue to use it on every marketing thing we have because it's awesome. And again, thank you to Lori Heaney and to Deb Palo for doing that work and putting it out.
They are amazing, April. And I put them on the flyer that I made and I stood on the corner and I handed the flyer to every single car that walked in. And within a few hours, we had raised a couple $100 with just in like 2 or 3 hours. And the ease of it makes it so much easier.
Nellie, the other thing I'd throw out with that kind of, with any fundraising is we are institutionally desperately in need of a way of tracking people who donate, whether they're families or grandparents or just people who like us. At some point, we lost all the information we have about who's donated to us. So we don't have any kind of systematic records of who our donors are, how much they've donated, and that sort of thing. So it's something to think about as you're working up this campaign is how are we going to track who our donors are and so that we can start building a database of their names and contact information so that we can, one, thank them for the donation, and two, send out updates about our school and all the wonderful things we're doing, and three, eventually down the road say, hey, we have a need, can you contribute?
The QR code links directly to the DMS website donation page. And so when I went on there last week and made a personal donation towards our fundraiser, I did get a response and a receipt email. So it is capturing the information that we're looking for.
Right.
No, you might have to extract it through from PayPal, which is something that we'd have to actively be on top of. Otherwise, it'll kind of just disappear into the ether.
Yeah.
And I think the donations that are made directly on the website, where the QR code goes to, are tracked and they're tracked on the website.
You fill out a form when you make a donation from the website, so that is making that automatic.
Yeah, and it's not really an issue of whether it's automated and whether you get a receipt, but it's whether we have a quick way to access who are all the people who have donated to us and look them up and look up their contact information. And it's not clear to me that we can do that through some back end on our website or through PayPal. I think we might need to pull all of that information together separately, like Dan was saying.
It's a customer data platform is what it's typically called, and we would need a very, very, very minimalistic one. Probably potentially free at that scale.
Yeah. So, well, Dan, maybe you could send Nellie and Danielle some ideas on what we could do to pull that data out. And
Sure. Yeah, I think I can do that.
All right. Anything else on fundraising? Okay. Let's take a look at our profit and loss and balance sheet. Pull this up. Start with the P&L. That showing up for everybody?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so this is just 2 months, but overall we're doing pretty well. We've got tuition from individuals, which I believe is the materials donations that April was mentioning. And some of the
That's different. It
Oh, that's
specifically says, it specifically says like materials, consumable materials donations.
yeah,
I think it's on a different form, I think.
yeah, this one is collapsed, so it's puts a bunch of stuff it might be under miscellaneous. Tuition may be the private kinder and that sort of thing.
Correct.
But anyway, Frank, were you trying to say something?
Just that, yes, the tuition is for the private program.
Got it. Okay. All right. So between those two things, we have income there. We've already gotten a tax credit donation, looks like. And of course, we've gotten our equalization payments from the state and some federal money as well. And then we have our expenses, which is for the most part salaries. So our number one line item. And that brings our total expenses to 497, which takes us away from our gross profit of 540. It gives us net operating income of 42K, but then of course we have a depreciation expense which for accounting purposes, we have to do to account for all the, not deterioration, but all the things that happen on campus, all the maintenance work that has to happen, the AC units that age, all the equipment that ages, computers that age, that sort of thing. Which brings our net income down to 16,000. Still very much in the black for the first couple months of the year, which is always a good sign. I think we're well positioned to have a good academic year based on what we're seeing here. And we can move over to our balance sheet. So current assets, we've got about 200,000 in cash between our checking and savings. We've got quite a bit due from federal and state, almost $300,000 there, which should start boosting up our cash accounts again a little bit. And then we have our fixed assets, our land, our buildings, vehicles, all that sort of thing, minus our accumulated depreciation, which gives us total assets of about 2.6 million. Then we've got liabilities and equity. So we've got our accounts payable, our payroll. We've got some credit cards outstanding, which are things that are, we spend day to day operating the school. We've got copier leases, and then we've got our longer term liabilities, our notes payable, our mortgage, our loans from the community, that sort of thing, which gives us total liabilities of 1.5 million. And then we have our retained earnings and net income, giving us total liabilities and equity of, again, 2.6 million, balancing out with the assets. All right, questions on our balance sheet, profit and loss? Kirsten would be happy to answer them for you. Nope, okay. All right, Frank, I think you were cutting out pretty severely when you were trying to give us the enrollment update. So why don't we circle back to that?
You bet. Can everyone hear me now? I apologize for the technical difficulties. I'm embarrassed. Sorry. So this week we lost 5 kids to begin the week. 2 families of 2 moved to New Hampshire and Texas, and another family basically said they're going to homeschool 1 student because they're still concerned about COVID. So we lost 5, but then within 2 days, today, we got 5 more coming in for Monday. We've been very blessed that we have enough people on a wait list still that are doing tours with us that they say, do you have openings? We want to come now. And so we are right at 286.5. And we have another 0.5 kindergartner filling out the paperwork. We're hoping to have Monday as well. So that would be 287, which is exactly what we're budgeted for. So we're still doing a little roller coaster of we lose 2, we gain 2. We lose 3, we gain 1. It's just up and down. It's not stable, but we're staying right around that 287 number. So that's encouraging. And of course, I really want to be there for the 40th day. That's kind of a big deal. So that's where we are on enrollment.
Remind us again when the 40th day is.
I think it's the second week of October, like the 10th or 12th of October.
October 6th.
There it is, October 6th.
Got
It's the same day Joan is coming to see us.
Okay.
Excellent. All right. Well, it sounds like a roller coaster, like you say, but at the end of the day, we're holding pretty steady.
Mhm.
So good. I think good news for turbulent times.
Yes.
All right. Questions about enrollment?
I just wanted to thank Crystal Lee for the report she sent. It looks like she's been doing a lot of excellent work to make things automated, to stay on top of everyone who's trying to enroll or disenroll. It was very good reporting, and I'm just so happy that we're on top of that. So thank you to Crystal.
Always nice to see you thank your sister.
And I love her too.
All right. Well, let's move on then briefly to COVID-19. So 4 weeks ago, we voted narrowly to require masks through September 28th. And there is still pending litigation about whether or not the law that was passed prohibiting mask mandates that goes into effect on September 29th will actually be allowed to continue. That there was oral argument on some motions a couple days ago, or yesterday actually, and the court took it under advisement, which just means the court is going to go think about it and issue a ruling later, although the court did say that it would issue a ruling before the law was supposed to go into effect. So we have no news now on this, but potentially things will change before our next scheduled meeting of October 6th. So, depending on the way things look, we may consider scheduling an emergency meeting to address that potential change in the law, or if nothing changes and there's nothing for us to do, then there wouldn't really be a reason for us to meet again. But I just put that out there as a, please keep it on your radar that this is a very much a moving target, and trying to stay on top of it, especially when we only meet every couple of weeks, as often as that seems. Apparently it's not often enough in the times of COVID. So that's the limited information I have on that litigation right now and how it impacts us as a school. Any questions I can try and answer on that? Okay, well, we will play it by ear and see if anything changes. All right, Frank, let me turn it back over to you. Other than enrollment, things you'd like us to know about, or any highlights from your report that you sent us that you'd like our 15 members of the public who are watching this evening to know about? And by the way, thank you for being here, all 15 of you.
All right, let's start with our new system of pickup and drop off. Wow, it is working very well. It is taking less than 10 minutes to drop kids off and leave the parking lot. There are no more lines down 28th or out on Southern because we made a simple adjustment to allow approximately 45 cars to come in our lot at quarter till or 10 till instead of waiting on the street at 8 o'clock. So that just moved all those cars into the lot, so there is no longer a long line. Our parents, kudos to all of them who are being patient and kind, and we're very happy with the way that's moving. We're not perfect. I've sent out a message this week to ask parents to please stop cutting through the median there, and I had to actually put the flags back up, but that's okay. That stopped it from happening. But kudos to the pickup and drop off. It's going well. On a COVID note, kudos to our parents who are really being cautious and calling and talking to Bonnie and Deb and Crystal
in there that says, here's how you can contact us, let us know, we'd love to hear from you. And maybe that's not enticing enough for some people to email us in a more formal survey of, we want to hear from you, please let us know what you think, would do the trick for others. And I'm certainly not opposed to knowing what the questions are going to be, or at least some of them are going to be in advance of the town hall. But I also don't want to turn the town hall into there was one, I think, long before Frank's time that went really badly in many people's eyes, because it went from, it was not a town hall, it was a presentation by the administration at the time on the things the administration wanted to tell the community. And everybody was really not happy with how that went, because they came in expecting to have questions answered, and what they got was a lecture. So I'm totally fine soliciting, hey, tell us what you're thinking about, just so we have it in the back of our heads. But I don't want to then turn that into, okay, we've heard from these people, so now we're going to give them a presentation and not actually have a dialogue with people who show up with questions to ask.
Totally understand. So maybe what I will do is just, and send to the board, is just kind of build a questionnaire that maybe we can use to put out quarterly or so, just for random feedback. I would say until we're willing to open up public comment on the meetings, or if that's the case, or unless we're going to get to the point where we have town hall meetings on a regular basis. I just feel like we need to open the lines of communication.
That's fair. That's fair.
If I remember the last time we talked, we had mentioned a town hall per quarter. So this would be the first quarter one, and we would do one between October and December, and then we would do one between January and spring break, and one between spring break and May. So we're addressing different times of the school year to answer questions or concerns that can shift over a school year. Example, I'm sure we're going to get a question Monday about the air conditioning in 1st, 2nd, and 8th grade. It's been on the fritz this week. We did get it finally fixed and it's up and running, but there's concerns about it's still very hot and the rooms then get hotter. So I'm expecting that, and I'm prepared to answer that question on it. That's what I would see as a normal question that could come up as we go through seasons and times of year.
Were we settling on who would be present, or?
Yes, thank you, Danielle. So
I was joking that I would be Donna. What was his name? Donahue. Take the microphone down the aisle.
So I will be there for sure, which means there's room for 2 more board members. Nellie has thrown her name in. Who else is interested?
I am interested.
Danielle. Okay.
Were there any other takers?
Unless you're interested in a very long distance and logistically complicated flight, I think you're out for this one.
Holographic presence.
Mr. Tanner, April, Kirsten, any interest? Not this time? Okay. All right. Well, Nellie and Danielle it is then. So you'll have the 3 of us on Monday. All right. Let's see. I'm looking at our agenda. Okay, so we heard from Frank. We talked about the town hall. That brings us to our last agenda item, board issues. So we are now in the board recruiting season, and applications are due. April sent out an email just a few days ago by October 1st, and we will then review those applications, and we do interviews the first meeting in November, and then we do a second round of interviews, the second meeting in November, and at that time also vote on who's going to be elected to the board. Did I get that right, April?
Yes.
Okay.
We also have the meeting that's sort of the informal meeting in between, that's just only with a couple of board members and I think Frank, and for all the board applicants.
Right. So it's not a formal meeting of the board, just to kind of get to know you, answer any kind of informal questions. Okay. So for those of you listening, if you haven't already submitted an application to be a member of the board, I encourage you to think about it, or reach out to friends that you think would be good candidates and encourage them to apply. We are always in need of more talent. And as I told this group by email yesterday, I am not going to be seeking to renew my term as president or as a board member after my term expires in November. I just have a lot of personal things that have been building up over the last year that I need to attend to. And the school's in a really good spot with this board and with Frank, and I'm really pleased with where things are and really confident that things are going to continue in a good direction. But that said, we're definitely going to be down one person in November. So if you are willing to serve and you're interested in it, I strongly encourage you to apply. It's it's an amazing experience in many ways, serving on the board. You get to know the school better than maybe you want to, but it's it's really fun to get to learn all the different pillars of the community and what the really pressing issues are, and I think most importantly, you get to see how many people care so deeply about this school and what makes it such a magical place. So it's bittersweet for me to be moving on, but it's been a great time, and I would encourage anybody to do it who's interested.
Won't you reconsider?
All right, so that's our timeline. Submit your applications by October 1st. Please, we will thank you dearly.
Gregory, I know I missed the financial update, but are we, could I bring up just a few points, or is it that time passed?
No, go ahead. We can.
Okay, I just needed to settle on three things if we could. We're looking for a team of 10 initially to get started to roll out the tax credit push. And we would like it to be a full board, teachers, parent body, and administration. We'd like to have a good team of 10. And we would like to meet on September 22nd. If anyone's available from 8:30 to 9:30, it can be a phone call or a Zoom. Also wanted to find out if between the 7 of us, if we can decide, or 9 of us, on if we want to take path number 1 or path number 2. If we wanted to designate a direct need for the tax credit donations on this first run, or if we would like it to just be a full broad spectrum of all the categories that it's outlined for. And one, if we can make sure we have an up-to-date event calendar that we can all access. So we want to prevent any overlap, as well as tie events into things that we're running on campus when we're available. So those were the 3 items I'd like us to work on, and then again, make a decision on who could be on that 10, if any of us are open and able. And then path number 1 or path number 2, direct need or broad spectrum. anyone need more time, or can we come up with a decision today?
But I just want to be clear, are you looking for just right now volunteers to be on that committee who will then decide, or are you asking the board to decide which direction we want to go in terms of?
Well, do you have a preference? I would think it would be up to us here now to make that decision, unless you'd like that too. More familiar with the priority list, or, I mean, is there something that we are really wanting to incorporate?
I mean, I'm open to other thoughts, but my take on the tax credit is there's kind of a limited set of buckets of things that you can use them for anyway. So saying we want your tax credit so we can use them for these
A strings teacher, or again, make the selection of the categories that you'd like. But we've always been more successful when we have tied it to a direct goal, just like with the Stall Street Journal, which was so clever, very clever. That was an idea. So broad spectrum or a direct need, something we could take off the budget item that is in that tax credit category, or what are everyone's thoughts on that?
I like direct need. I feel that it works better when people know exactly what it's going to.
other thoughts.
My thought is that it's best to go broad. Gregory, as you said, it's limited line items anyway. And since we've just changed our class materials donation to go just specifically to classrooms, we don't have that sort of catch-all for different things that we used to. And some of those may apply to this tax credit. And I think now that we're back on campus and parent council is involved in more fundraising, and obviously we've got things going on with Nellie and Danielle and Melissa Sutton that are specific asks, I feel like our best bet here is to go broad. Because then we can do both.
Yeah, so I mean, I just pulled up the list again to take a look at it. So Danielle, you mentioned a strings teacher.
I was just an idea. I haven't looked at our full list of need items, and I haven't heard from teachers, but that was
yeah. So, I mean, just it's limited, and this is why I said go broad, so you can kind of get some funds and then figure out where you can best use them with these constraints. So we could use it for extracurricular activities. So we had an after-school strings program, which I know Frank has been proposing. We could use it for that, but we couldn't use it, for example, to hire a strings teacher who would teach during the school day, I don't think.
I'm happy to get clarification on that, but again, it was just an idea.
Yeah. So, but another thing on here is that at least through June 30th of 2022, we can use it to raise funds for capital items. So this would be a great year to say, hey, please give us your tax credit money for this capital improvement project that we want to do. And maybe it's the high school improvements that Frank is talking about making, where it's not a huge amount of money, but it's, there's a need there, and we could direct all that money to those types of capital improvements this year.
Frank, Kirsten, John, Dan, Michelle, thoughts?
Well, I would tell you, it's been my experience that whenever you fundraise for things, you stay away from fundraising for salaries because it's only good for that 1 year. So hiring a teacher with donations, not a good idea, because then that money goes to that person and they're, after 1 year, they're done. And so you won't have quality teachers that want to come to that when they're not guaranteed, I'm not going to stay here for a while. And so I would recommend donations go to capital items or extracurricular. And it's my job to increase enrollment to pay for teachers and staff so that as enrollment stays solid, that funding is a forever stream. That's just what I've learned through the years. So.
Is capital improvement a line item?
Yes.
Because that in itself is very broad.
Yes, it is. Right now, our capital line item are our ESSER grants. Monique and I have moved all of those programs, all of those projects into the ESSER. So we're trying to not spend M&O money on capital, which is also, in my experience, a smart thing to do because you don't want to eat up M&O money on non-personnel. I think the percentage is something like 86% of M&O money is spent on salaries and benefits. In every school district, that's how it is. And if you start spending things on bricks and mortar from M&O, that means you have to decrease your salaries and benefits. And we don't want to do that. We want to add personnel. And there's no doubt we need to do everything we can each year to give our teachers a raise and a better insurance program to keep them, to entice them to stay with us. We fight that every year too, of people leaving for more money somewhere else. So that's a never ending battle. You have to constantly stay on top of that.
We wouldn't be deterring anyone from making a selection. It's just a nice push to, this is what we're doing.
What have we gotten in the past on tax credits in a good, healthy year?
I think the last one was 40 to 50. It was right, just a little over 40. I think that was our best year.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Last year,
And we had a thermometer printed on the barn that we had checked off. So it was a nice visual that everyone could see it. Christian, do you have thoughts one way or another?
I think I'm in favor of capital projects. I think there's a lot of structures that are in dire need of repair and have been for a while, and some that are just in dire need of maintenance that will need repair if they don't get that proper maintenance. You know, air conditioners, buildings, I mean, all those things. I think if you walk around, could use a little extra love.
Thank you.
I agree. I think it's one of those areas that helps everybody in the school almost equally because it's the overall infrastructure of the school itself versus specialty programs. I don't think, I could see how in the future it could branch into specialty programs, like if you're building like a music classroom or something, but I don't think we're at that point yet. We're still playing catch up a bit.
Thank you. John, do you have some input?
It's one of those situations where you need both. If you must maintain your programming, nobody wants a music program more than I do. Nobody wants a strings teacher more than I do. Nobody wants to see the high school get the programming it needs and deserves to flourish. It's absolutely essential. Yet you have to have the capital improvements. As Kirsten mentioned, there's a
Man down, man down. Not hearing you, John.
All that. The farmhouse needs a tremendous amount of work. Even the buildings where 5, 6, and 7 are. I mean, that's becoming almost 20 years old. Believe it or not. I remember when they built those things. That was back in 2004. So, little by little things start to fall apart. So I guess this isn't quite the right parallel, but it's 6 of one, half a dozen of another. We need both.
Thank you. Michelle, may I get your input as well?
I know that it's easier to get parents and even personally family members if I say this is what we're looking at doing to donate more money that way. Even with tax credits, it's a lot easier when I have something specific to do it. But it is also nice to have the broad things. So I guess I agree on both ends, but yeah, those capital projects are pretty important right now too.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it. And I will roll with that and send out another communication to see if we can solidify the 10 and balance that out between those categories and see what we all think.
Thank you, Danielle.
Thank you. Thank you for circling back. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Was there anything else, or was that it?
That was it.
Okay. All right. Well, that takes us to the very last item, discussion and approval of our previous meeting minutes. So I will move to approve the minutes of the September 1st, 2021 meeting.
Second.
Like Dan was first on the second there. Any discussion? All those in favor? That is everybody. Oh, we lost Mr. Tanner. Mr. Tanner, we just moved to approve the minutes of the last meeting. Are you in favor of approving them? Okay. All right. So everybody but me is in favor. I will abstain. So the motion carries. All right. That's it for our agenda. So I will move to adjourn.
I'd be happy to second that motion.
Thank you. All right. Any discussion? All those in favor? Okay. Unanimous. April, if you could read the closing verse, we will call it a night.
The most important tasks for humankind today and in the future is that we should learn to live together and understand one another. If this human fellowship is not achieved, all talk of development is empty. Rudolf Steiner.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Good night.